Hello, hello. My name's Christian Lee here for Iram Digital. We're here with
Johan Lenox.
and Johan. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm having a relaxing Sunday here in sunny Los Angeles, and yeah, I had a good lunch. I'm feeling good about life today.
I'm feeling good seeing you. But real quick, I just need to know, what was your lunch?
It was like a soup, like a noodle soup but I just covered it in that chili crisp shit.
Oh my gosh! All right.
It's nothing that can't fix.
No, that's like one of the best things to put on anything for food. It's just so diverse.
Yeah, it is. Very good. Crispy, a little sour, spicy, salty.
Yeah, I think people don't know. It's just like for food, like just like the more texture, the more flavor you have, like it just makes everything better.
Oh yeah, definitely. I saw something about it was like a news thing a couple weeks ago that they were talking about how Kamala Harris was supposed to go on like Subway takes or whatever, and her take was going to be that bacon is a spice. Kind of agree with low-key. Not a spice, but like a seasoning, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
It basically you're adding crunch, you're adding salt, you're adding fat, little char, you know what I mean? Bacon bits, crumble, that type of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I do. I understand that.
You know what I mean? I feel like chili crisp has a little bit of that. You're just adding like a little bit of every aspect of what food can be onto your food. It's pretty good.
And believe it or not, let's get right into this.
Yeah.
Johan.
Yeah.
That's not your real name.
Oh Jesus! Tell the whole world, why don't you?
Bro, you got a Wikipedia page. Come on.
Yeah.
Did you make that yourself? Or did you know you have your Wikipedia page?
No, I just appeared one day. I mean, you can see when it was created, and I think it was created when the first tour I went on, someone did it, but I don't know. I don't know if there's some way to. I think I did try to. No, I had nothing to do with it, but I did try to figure out who created it based off what other articles they had done or something, because you can see that sources, too.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what it was, but I remember looking at the other articles they had done, and it was very random. It wasn't like other musicians. It was just two other completely random fucking things. Yeah, very odd.
It is odd.
But that's good. I'd like not knowing. I wouldn't want to feel like it means that you've made it to a degree, right? Someone else thought it was important enough to do, and I don't have to know anything beyond that. I did correct something in it once, though. I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
But we don't have to say your name, because obviously, I mean, if people want to know, they can find it. It's not hard to find.
Yeah,
what I do want to know is
myself. Yeah, Johan.
What made you decide to be Johan Lenox?
Well, for a second, I was just Johan without the last name, which I thought was pretty cool, like Johan, Prince or some shit like that. That was from classical music composers, shit like that. I mean, I usually say it was Johann Sebastian Bach, but for the real discerning classical music fan, there are other Johanns, and there's Johannes Brahms is actually really my guy, and that was really where I took it from. But I shortened it a little bit from Johannes to Johan. And then, I was signed to Island Record a couple years ago, and they were like, yeah, we can't copyright your name if it doesn't have a last name, because Johan is just like John in a bunch of countries and shit like that.
That's true.
And I was just like, really? And I was like, well, I'm not going to change my name. And they were like, I think you are going to change it. They were like, you need a last name. And I was like, oh, Christ. And so I came up with Lenox, which is the town in Massachusetts that I used to spend my summers in doing camp around classical music and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty cool then.
Yeah. So, yeah, very personal. A lot of classical music shout-outs, yeah. The camp is called Tanglewood.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah. Wow, we're getting a lot of lore. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, Lenox, Mass. And with one N, too. People fuck that up.
Yeah, some people think too, because I think there's the other singer, Ari Lennox, so I think maybe that's why.
For sure. Definitely more common with two, but the town was spelled with one, so.
And then I want to know too, because you're from Mass. I believe you're from Winchester, correct?
That is correct. Wow. You did your research.
Yeah, we gotta try it.
So Lenox is way western Mass. It's near New York City.
Okay.
Winchester is near Boston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I know, so what was it like, because you've stated that when you were first growing up, at least when you're in music, even when you were in college, you were doing more the classical route. How did you fall into that?
Classical originally?
Yes.
Actually, the piano that's behind us, I don't know if it's in the shot, but yeah, that piano is the piano that I had growing up in my parents' living room, and it was my grandfather's originally, and they just had it as furniture, basically. No one really played it, but just the fact that it was there, and I didn't really get to play video games much growing up. Didn't have cable TV or anything, so I was just kind of bored a lot. But the piano was there, which I think was probably I don't know if they incepted that into me by setting those situations up, but yeah, I just basically taught myself over many years of just dicking around from 5 years old. Yeah.
Because I was wondering if your parents pushed you to that, or if it was just interest you had on yourself. Because classical music as a kid, I mean, a lot of people play it, but a lot of people go for it after.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, It does, yeah. It is something that a lot of people like. As I went deeper into it, you do meet a lot of people who've been like at it since they were 3 years old and shit like that. And I always felt like late to it, weirdly. Yeah, there was a couple of stages that I taught myself piano. Then I taught myself piano, and then I did take like a few like lessons for like a year in the like late elementary school, and just basically was playing less while I took the lessons because I didn't really like practicing, and then
of course.
I wouldn't even want to go over there because it would just remind me of the shit I didn't want to be doing. It's probably a good lesson from that too. But yeah, if you want to accomplish something, you have to like find some way to make yourself enjoy it. Yeah, so that was turning me off from it, and my parents were like, "Oh, that's." And then I quit the lessons, and they were like, "Oh, that's probably it. He's not going to do piano again." But then I played way more after I quit. You know, I was just like I was drawn to it just for the fun of it. And then I guess like they just wanted to help me, and the piano lessons hadn't really worked, but I got really interested in like orchestra composing and conducting, and just seeing the orchestra play in Boston. They would take me to see that, and like listening to like soundtracks of famous movies and shit like that. They were like, well, I guess maybe you could take lessons in composing, which is a thing you can do.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and that's when I started like meeting more people who were like serious about classical music and just who had been at it since they were kids and shit. But that was throughout high school and college, that was pretty much my entire thing, was just trying to be a classical composer and going around the country hanging out with old people in orchestras and writing music for them.
That is their vibe, yeah.
Yeah.
But were you in orchestra or anything like that when you were younger too, or?
I did, yeah. In high school, I played in the high school orchestra, which was a pretty bad orchestra, but like, it's just like anyone could be in it. It was just sort of like a class to take just to fill a period in the day. And I didn't really play. Like, I play piano, but orchestra doesn't generally have piano. Sometimes they'll bring piano in for like one piece or something. But so I just played like percussion. That's usually like something you can get. Very good percussion is very difficult, and like there's really serious shit that requires a lot of skill. But if you're just playing like the classics and shit, and all you have to do is like hit a cymbal like 3 times in a 4-minute piece, like you can get away with being pretty bad and still do it. So that was my outlet for that.
Being an orchestra myself back in the day, yeah, that's facts.
But I would write music for them too. That was kind of like part of it. I would sometimes play percussion for the hell of it, but also I would like write them. I think I got them to let me do like an independent study actually in high school where I would just write music for them. I kind of forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's sick.
So that was pretty chill. Yeah, I didn't have to fucking do anything. But just to feel like I was doing something other than writing music, I would like hit the cymbals or the triangle.
And growing up, because you said you were very into classical, and you said one of your favorite, I don't know, you say artists at the time, but I guess you could say it, because John Williams.
Yeah.
And, obviously you fell in love with that. And then I believe you said in college, that's when you listened to My Dark Beautiful Twisted Fancy and kind of opened up a different world for you, right?
Yeah. I came to that much later, but yeah. Actually it was the other night like 2 nights ago, I went to the Hollywood Bowl and watched Jurassic Park with the live orchestra playing the soundtrack.
Oh,
I've
okay,
never done that before. Cool. That was pretty sweet, yeah. Definitely a lot of nostalgia for the work of John Williams. But I was like pretty focused on that stuff. I mean, John Williams like early in life probably, and then went deeper into classical, which is just like mostly really obscure. I mean, some older composers that you might know, like obviously like Beethoven, maybe Mahler, you maybe heard of Stravinsky, stuff like that. But then like as I got deeper into that, it would also just be like contemporary classical composers who, like, unless you know that world, there's no reason you would have ever heard of any of them. But that was kind of the space I was in. Just really, really kind of like obscure stuff. And I just kind of wanted to keep writing music that felt the way that music felt, but find a way to have it like reach more people and just like be more influential over culture and stuff like that. Yeah, I think when I first heard My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, that was like a glimpse of like, oh, this is someone who has an impact that influenced millions of people, and he could do some crazy shit with the music. He could put an orchestra behind it. He can record French horns and strings and all that stuff on an album. Like, he's bringing that symphonic scale to, like the world in a way that's kind of something that I was like looking at for inspiration.
And so you've actually worked with Kanye before.
Yeah, I actually ran into him like a week ago.
Really?
It was a very strange experience.
Where was that at?
At the Chateau Marmont, and he was with Bianca and his kids and stuff. It was just very odd.
That is kind of odd.
Yeah, he seems like very just like mentally in a strange place, I guess.
Yeah, that's the best way to say it. Yeah. But so you've met Kanye, but have you met John Williams before too?
I mean, I've worked with Kanye and met him a few times, but I had not. I've met John Williams like
really,
but only like literally just like no conversation at all. Yeah, and he was like a little, I wouldn't say rude, but he was sort of like nice to meet you, and then just kind of like moved. Yeah, but
where was that at?
I was actually at Tanglewood, when I was studying there, in aforementioned, Lenox, Massachusetts. he was out there. I mean, he conducted a lot there because that's where the Boston Symphony goes in the summer. So he was out there to conduct, and I was at this like modern opera by this composer Elliot Carter, and he was also in the audience for it. We just saw him on the way out. We're like, holy shit, that's John Williams. And like, I was with someone else, and they were like, you got to say hi. I was like, all right, fine. It's like, hey, Mr. Williams, we're big fans, you know. And it's just like, oh, that's great. You know, it's like, good luck to you, and just kept moving hands. So it's fine. Didn't get much out of it, but yeah. I actually know his grandson. His grandson's a music producer.
Really?
Ethan Gruska. Yeah, it's actually pretty big
that's
guy.
his grandson?
It's John Williams' grandson.
Wait, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I did not know
I hope
that.
I'm not putting him on blast. Also, his uncle and John Williams, one of John Williams' son, was in Toto, the band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also very
so big musical family.
Because I think Ethan, he's done some work with Phoebe Bridgers. Yeah.
Like, and he like puts his own music out. He's super great. Big fan.
That's cool. Wow. Dang, you learn something new every day, huh?
You do.
And I want to know, too, because I believe you went to Yale, and you got your master's in music there, too. Congrats on that. I know I'm a little late to the party, but congrats.
Oh, no, dude. It never too late.
And I'm wondering, too, because, you know, after that, I believe, was it 2016 you started dropping music yourself, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing it forever. I mean, but yeah, just sort of different stages of, yeah.
But that's when you're, like, officially putting more serious like music on SoundCloud, you know, putting it like on streaming platforms.
Everything. Kind of a trial. I mean, it's just I've been trying it the whole time. I mean, it's like I feel serious about it. I feel like the debut album was probably the first like, oh, this is really serious.
Yeah.
But it is just like, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I care deeply about like albums and having them feel finished and like a single constructed piece of music. I mean, even like an artist like Drake or someone at that level, like. They're still just trying shit. People are just trying shit, you know. And like a lot of music comes out that is just like, is this something? Like, are people gonna like this or not? And it's just so I feel like a lot of that early stuff was partly me just trying to figure out like what I was doing. But I'm just never someone who like sits in a room and plans the thing for 10, fucking years like Frank Ocean's doing, and then puts it out like
or never put it out.
Yeah, like or Rihanna, whoever's like really takes their time with it. Like I'm just always been. So I need to figure it out in public and put the stuff out and see how it reacts. So there's a lot of old shit that is kind of all over the place musically that's just up, but that's fine with me. Maybe I'll scrub it one day, but it's pretty hard to do actually, low key, especially if stuff was on a label like that you really. You don't like anything that came out on your island. I don't even really have the right to take down. I don't think I'd have to buy it back or some shit. Probably, yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't know. Like, say you do a project, it's like 10, 15 songs. They don't know that there was actually a lot of countless songs that didn't make the cut that you were trying to figure out.
There's a range. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's definitely artists like who make like 200 songs and cut it down to 10 or 15, which is kind of how I made the first album. I've been moving more towards like pretty much making the number of songs, like maybe like a few extras get made, but largely speaking, I'm just making the stuff I want to put on the album. Actually, you know what? Maybe that's not even true though, because now I'm thinking about it. And actually, there was a period where even this album, I'm talking about this upcoming album I'm finishing right now, but like this, there were probably like 40 or 50 like ideas that went into it, but they just weren't nearly as finished as I used to like. I used to like write whole songs, finish them. These were just kind of like mumbly ideas and stuff, but maybe it was like 30 of them, 40 of them, and then I kind of cut it down to like 7, finished those. I had like Quad Echo work with me a lot on it, and he and I was like, which of these do you like? He actually kind of picked a lot of the ideas that end up on the album.
Oh, really? For his album?
For my album, like I just played him these like 30, 40 ideas. I was just like, which of these do you think we should do? And he was just like, I feel like these. And so I was like, cool. I fought for a couple, and he's like, all right, cool. So then we worked on those and finished them. And I've kind of been sitting on those for like close to a year, and now I've just been, as I'm finishing it up, decided to add a few more and kind of, but that was a good process, I think.
How do you feel about his album?
I think it's amazing. I mean, he's really like, I like him because he's very maximalistic with it. It's like at a time when everyone's making like 2-minute songs, he's just like, nah, fuck you, 5-minute outro, like 10-minute interlude, whatever. And I think that, that's sort of out of style right now a little bit, but I'd like to see it come back, and I feel like he's leading the charge.
Do you think your album that's coming out, soon, is it more like that too? Like, what's the process for this one? What has it been like?
I've always been big on interludes and stuff. I think the second album I did was maybe the one where I did the least of that, but I usually just kind of tack stuff on in terms of outros and shit like that. But all the previous projects had like extensive interludes, like orchestral, like moments that kind of take a pause from the action. And this will be more like that, but even that's just been in the last few weeks. I've been starting to put that stuff back in there, but I think like songs are like weirdly not that important to me. Like it's always been just my classical brain, and I used to like write musicals and stuff too. But I just definitely think in terms of these like long-term structures and like how does the whole hour feel to you? How does the whole half hour, whatever the length of the project is, feel as like a continuously flowing thing? I'm always like, I don't listen that much to just like the one song taken off the album. I mean, Obviously, I do a little of that, but like that's not how I think about the music I make. So yeah, that's not. Yeah, it feels better to be going back to a space where I'm just like building this longer term kind of thing about it. Yeah.
And let's talk about the second album that you did drop, along with your music process. The second album, honestly, such a long acronym. Like I don't even know how to say it.
Well, the first album is "What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up."
That one.
That's sort of the album. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what would be before that. There was sort of like a project called. I might say it's an album, but it was called. I think it was just "World on Fire." I don't remember, but it was just like it was like my version of Scrapyard by Claudex, something like that, you know. They just compiled a bunch of songs where I redid the vocals better. That was like it. So that was sort of a throwaway. Then I dropped the first album, which is What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up? And then the second album would be like, I Guess We'll Find Out, which came out like a year and a half ago. But yeah.
But for the albums too, because obviously, you do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. You do producing. You play like strings, or you compose for some other artists as well.
Yeah.
And you've opened for some of the artists that have been on your albums too.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, what's the process of who do you choose to put on your albums? Like,
in terms of features?
Yeah, for features.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the first album was like, there's a lot of artists that I really admired. I mean, there's definitely a lot of like Kanye orbit artists on there, like Mr. Hudson and Aunt Clemens and 070 Shake and Casey. I guess there's a bunch, yeah. And then there's like Cousin Stiz, who's from Boston. I had a connection.
That's a cool feature. That's cool.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, no, he's like actually a good friend. But yeah, honestly, like I would bring him back. But yeah, very, very like Boston connection there. And then Rumor, who's a good friend, and just like I don't know. I mean, obviously sonically, it was a big part of what I wanted to do. Finding voices that I thought sounded amazing and using them. Second album, I was just like, because a lot of times I'll make these albums without any features.
Yeah.
Like that album existed without any features and pretty much played exactly the same, except for the Mr. Hudson one, which I added later. But like everything else about that album was just like done, and then I added the features, and then I would reproduce the songs to accommodate the features, and that's like a fun process.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you get like a new voice in there, and now you're like, oh, I want to reinterpret what I did to kind of, like make this make sense or whatever. Like that's a really interesting process that I really like the challenge of. But for the second album, I was just kind of like, I feel like people need to hear just the fact that I'm just making this album and it is interesting without relying on the features. So I did that. I think people liked it. I mean, I feel like people didn't hear it as much because just like features do just spread the thing a lot farther for whatever reason. But yeah, so this album I'm going back to having features. But yeah, I think it was a good exercise to not do it.
And let's talk about the latest song you have, which does have a feature too. Finally,
Yeah.
Congrats, you dropped that last week.
Thank you.
And what was like the process behind that? Because this is going to be on the new album,
Yeah,
correct?
so I mean, yeah, I guess the difference is like the first album I did, it was all like features that I added onto songs I had already basically finished. This album, the features are largely happening organically as part of the compositional process. So yeah, like almost everything on here that has a feature is something that I like created with the artist together. That's been more interesting. Has been doing that, and I feel like that I'm doing that with a few other artists too on it. So
We've talked about music, but I also want to talk about your aesthetic a little bit too. 'Cause obviously, interview for this outfit, the outfit, great.
Right.
But I've noticed for your PR, you dress like you're like in Dune or like Mad Max.
yeah.
What's the style behind that? What's the stylistic choice behind that?
Yeah, I love Mad Max. I love Dune too. Yeah, like I just think it looks cool. I feel like it was kind of symbolic of like the way the world is. Feels like it's coming crashing down all the time. And yeah, I did that for like the second album. I mean, the first album, like the artwork all depicts the sky being like orange and feels like there's some kind of like meteor shower that's coming in to kill us all, something like that. I mean, I had seen a photo of San Francisco or something around that time where the sky was actually like yellow from just ash and soot and shit like that. From like forest fires, and I was just like, oh, this is just like the future. It's just gonna be, the sky's always gonna be orange and shit. So that was the first album, and then I was just like, the second album, I was like, oh, like maybe this is like the apocalypse has like arrived, and now I'm like fully just gonna be like dressing for like going outside with a gas mask on and shit like that. And that was kind of what that was about. And then for this album, yeah, like the first song, When Morning Comes, like I did that one with that kind of aesthetic, and then I kind of decided that would be the end of it. I think I do like wearing that shit though. But yeah, I think that, yeah, the idea was like I ended the era with the first single from this album, which is kind of like morning and just being like, in that video, I'm like digging through the desert trying to find some signs of like life or something like in Wall-E, like some idea that there's like some green somewhere, just something that could get us back out of that. And then for the rest of the album, I've just been thinking about it much more in terms of just like where I want to go in the future and just like leaving all that negativity and stuff in the past, even though I liked living in it and wallowing in it because it's like a cool aesthetic, but I'm just trying to be in a more like optimistic place. Mm-hmm. I mean, the music's pretty dark still, but, and then I've been dressing up a lot. I was like, I did like a film score recently, and the film premiered at Cannes in France, and like you can't even go to a movie premiere there without wearing a tuxedo with a bow tie and everything. So I got like a real bow tie and learned how to tie it and shit like that. And like that just felt really good. And just going everywhere constantly dressed to the nines. And so I feel like I'm gonna start just doing that all the time, like just always showing up. But maybe even more than this, like full tuxedo or something. Yeah, just pulling up to parties and shit like that.
I mean, that is a power move. Yeah. And also power move to know how to actually tie a bow tie. I had to do it for my friend's wedding. Could not get done.
It's pretty weird. I mean, the one thing I'll say about tying a bow tie is, unlike a real tie or like a necktie, whatever you want to call it, the necktie, if you fuck it up, you have to start over basically to get it adjusted. I mean, you can't really, maybe you can, but I feel like you can't really like get if the lengths are wrong, you kind of just have to start over. Yeah. I will say the one thing about the bow tie is like how to tie it at all, like the right places to put all the pieces to get it to come out that shape in general is hard. But once you memorize that, in terms of just getting it to look good, you can just adjust it after it's tied. That's a pointer for out there, you know? Like, unlike the regular tie, like if the proportions look ugly, you can fiddle with it after without having to untie it and just get it to look good. So I did.
Dang, dropping some knowledge.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's cool. First out, I do like, you know, like out with the old, in with the new. And I think this is going to be a great era for you.
Thank you.
But I'm wondering, speaking of new too, you know, we've been talking for a while, and you know, I appreciate you doing this interview. But I'm wondering, you think we could take this next step? You think we could be friends as well?
Yeah.
Okay, put it there.
Anytime.
Thank you. And the thing I love to do for my friends is give them gifts. So I do have some gifts for you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
It's like Nardwuar.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit of inspo. And thank you. Yeah.
So
no.
when you were 1 year old, you were. You played with this.
First one is someone you'll like, and it is drugs. Where is this? Oh, it's right. Where'd it go?
Where do you like crack? You used to smoke crack, right? Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I really like this artwork, actually.
Yeah.
Dude, this is awesome.
You're welcome.
The single, too. That's incredible. Yeah, this is awesome. This whole art, I forget who the artist is. I gotta look it up. But yeah, obviously, like, this aesthetic is across, like, all of the Dark Twisted Fantasy stuff. Yeah. It's just this kind of, like, painted. This is really, it's just, like, nerd. This is incredible. Yeah, this is just such good art. It's, like, really, like, the eyes are fucking insane. The knife through the head, yeah. This is I'm trying to remember. This is the song that he says he claims he spent like 60,000 hours on the drums or something like that, or 20,000. Just like this literally impossible number of hours that like weren't even the amount of time he spent on the entire album. But L. Griffin, I was gonna say, is L. Griffin, because that must be someone different because Ty Dolla $ign's last name is Griffin too. I'm pretty sure, but
I don't think
it's mixed by Manny Marroquin, who I know, Larry Studios, and Mike Dean. Yeah, I know like all these people now. That's kind of a crazy thing too. Like Kill Offer, I work with. Mike Dean, I've worked with a bunch. Basker, I know. Marroquin, Kanye, I've met and worked with, I guess. Some of these people I don't know. But yeah, it's a fucking amazing song. I like the kind of the chant.
That's so hype.
I'd really like, I'm always trying to do shit like that, just that kind of like tribal, primal sounding, screaming chants and shit. So yeah, this is awesome. You're actually giving this to me?
Yeah, that's really.
Thank you so much. Apparently Nardwuar takes the shit back at the end, but I don't know if that, or maybe
I've heard that before too.
Maybe if it's like really valuable.
Yeah, I think it's the valuable ones.
If it's not, he lets you keep it, but shout out Nardwuar. This is awesome. Thanks.
You're welcome. And do you collect vinyl yourself at all, or?
I don't, but I mean, I sort of do by accident because people keep giving. You know, a lot of people like to give me. If people put an album out on vinyl, they'll give you a copy of their album on vinyl as a gift. But yeah, I need to get a record player. For now, this will just be a beautiful. I mean, I would hang this up low key.
Perfect.
Let's just do that.
And I have one more gift for you. One that I think relates to you more. I mean, this one's great too, but it is.
A lot. Oh hell yeah!
Late registration.
Wow, incredible. Yeah, actually, I feel like this is the album that changed my life. You know, so I'd say this is a fucking incredible album though, and I do feel like this bear sometimes. I like this very like Yale coded doorway too. There's this real classic collegiate kind of. There's also a thing that people forget that he was actually going by Ye a little bit around that time, which is why I think he's like trying to get you ready for that by like capitalizing the Y and shit. But there's like a video of Jay-Z. I think it's like when he's making
slide out.
Sorry. Do you want me to not slide it out? The College Dropout, where someone's asking Jay, he's like, so what do you think about this Ye West guy? And Jay's just like, he's dope or some shit like that. But it's like they call him Ye West, and it's sort of like so. Yeah, I think they were like talking about. I think we decided Kanye had more of a ring to it, but no one. Sometimes people call me Yo, like J-O.
Interesting.
Not a fan.
Yeah, that. Would not be a fan of that one too. That one's
this is beautiful, man. Thanks so much. This is incredible.
Because I mean, I really fuck with the strings on this one, so I'm like, kind of remind me about you a little bit more.
This was exec produced by. Oh yeah, sure. By. Well, late orchestration is like the orchestra version, right? This is pretty. So hip hop. He mentions that guy in a song. I've never really dug deep. I'm not like a hip hop connoisseur really at all. I mean, I'm extremely an outsider. But he mentions this producer hip hop in whatever the fucking. I think it's in Big Brother or something like that. Who is hip hop brother who is No ID's friend? That's the lyric.
Oh my god! Yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah.
He must have like called him to exec produce the album, which is cool. Yeah.
And there's other people that we've worked with that's on this album too. I think Nas is on here too.
Oh yeah. That's like a cool thing too that he does. That I mean, I guess a lot of artists do it, but like getting your mentors to do shit. Like when I got Mr. Hudson was one of the first artists that ever fucked with me, and when I got a feature from him on the first album I put out, there was like a bit of like, oh, this is so cool, like my fucking guy, you know, like just it felt like a real honor and a real passing the torch of whatever lane that's in. But he's awesome. You should check his music out, by the way, if you know his solo stuff. I've worked on it a bit over the years, but Mr. Hudson, one of my true OGs.
You got OGs. You're welcome.
This is awesome. These are way better than the crap that people usually give me.
Speaking about OGs, we're gonna kick it up a notch too.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It's time. It's fine.
Yeah.
This one, it could be a gift if you want, but it's more just to show you.
Sure. You can.
And we were talking about OGs. I want to show you this one. It is Titus Andronicus, and I believe your brother used to be this guy for a little bit, right?
How did you find that out? Wow, this is very Nardwuar-esque. Did I say that in an interview?
So tell me more.
How do you know that? I must have.
We
said
have
it
our
in an
sources.
interview
We have our sources.
You're Johan. We have to know. I'm sorry to just do this to you the whole time. Yeah, I honestly could not name one of their songs, but I know they're like really big for people who are into like Brooklyn-based like indie rock, and my brother played guitar in them for a while. My brother has a band, shout out Dino Walrus, which is like his kind of project that he like runs and produces, but then has a couple other people in it too that I think kind of rotate sometimes. But yeah, he toured with Titus Andronicus. I think he was wearing like a very like ironic like America type shirt with like a massive fucking bald eagle like directly, you know, like one of those kind of shirts, you know, the whole tour. But yeah. That was, I should listen to their music. I mean, people seem to really like it. That whole era of music is interesting because it's like, obviously, it was important to him. He kind of had pretty like esoteric tastes, so that's probably like as big as like he would have like been into in terms of the acts that were big around that time. But like all of that music, like I'm sure they're all good, like Animal Collective and fucking like MGMT and all that shit, and like Arcade Fire. And it's like I've heard songs obviously by all those acts, but I do feel like the people that I know or knew who like were into that shit really annoyed me, and it was like, so I feel like I like, and also coming out of classical music, there was like a bridge in the community of like people who are like a generation or two above me, like composers and stuff, like were friends with some of those bands and did the orchestrations for them and did collaborations, and some of those guys are doing film music now, or some of them are writing classical music, and like that world was the thing that had been established, and I was sort of looking at that and being like, well, I don't really want to do it that way, I guess, you know. So I feel like coming to LA and trying to go through like the world of like hip hop and pop music and just like more from the machine, I guess, side of it versus this like super indie Brooklyn crunchy kind of shit was kind of my way of rebelling against that stuff. So I feel like even to this day I see like that name and I'm just like, you know. But I should probably, I'm sure the music is great. It's like I can't really hold it against the music, but just the community, I don't know, I just really, that whole Brooklyn-y thing really, like I lived there for a year and then I was like, I cannot fucking stand this place. I gotta leave. Sorry.
No, you're good. It's all the Strokes' fault. That's fine.
Yeah, all that shit. Strokes are cool. I mean, it's all good. Cool. I don't know, but yeah, it's just the vibes. Like the people were it's just the snobbiness, maybe. Yeah. Just something that I found really antithetical to what I like about music. And
you know, like you said, we've said, you've been doing music for a long time. Let's talk about one of your older songs, "Dangerous."
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's when I was first starting to put shit together, and everyone, I think I did the punctuation thing because I had friends in this band called Louis Del Mar.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And they had a song called Loudy or something, and the Y was in parentheses, and I was like, punctuation, that's so cool. So yeah, I guess that was where I got the idea that it's danger_us. Yeah. So classic. But I like how the song sounds. I mean, there's some elements of that musically that I still kind of like, just that kind of kooky, spooky shit. And I've been getting back into singing with falsetto a lot more again, which there's like an R&B aspect of that I feel like I'm bringing back with this album. There's honestly some stuff on this upcoming album that might be closer to that than it is to what I did the last couple albums. But that's crazy you found that shit. I mean, it was on SoundCloud. I mean, at the time, you wouldn't even really put music. I mean, Spotify was still kind of new, and like you would just like put shit on SoundCloud, and that you could just have it. The SoundCloud link would go viral on Hype Machine, and it would be linked back to SoundCloud, and all the views would go back to SoundCloud, and like I had like a publicist, shout out Paul from Whiteboard. This is a guy in the UK.
Oh yeah, Whiteboard.
his whole thing would just be like masterminding the algorithm to get like 40 of those like little blogs to post so it'd go viral on Hype Machine. And there's a lot of artists. Yeah, I feel like I was trying to be like similar artists. Like there was this guy Michael Michl who was kind of making shit like that. And then there was like Jack Garrett and like maybe like coming out the tail end of Glass Animals, stuff like that. Like just that was sort of where I was trying to fit in, I guess. But none of that stuff you really see around anymore. I mean, it kind of, I don't feel like there's really any artists from that era that, I feel like in some ways, like the closest thing you could point to that came out of that was maybe like Billie Eilish or something, who was also making like bedroomy, like breathy, you know, internet Hype Machine shit and managed to take it all the way to the top. But I don't know who else you can really say that about from that era. But I've just adapted, changed.
Yeah, you've adapted and changed. You said like on the new album, you're going to do some falsetto and some songs too. So tell me about your time in the Octets.
Oh yeah, this is really great, man. Yeah, you're really bringing up the
all the hits.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think. Yeah, now I just want to like break down how you figured this out, because I did probably mention that you'd have to either have watched a lot of interviews, or maybe if you just Google my legal name, then you start like finding shit like that, or like if you date range it so it's like only before a certain date. Maybe it's my best guess. I don't think you called my mom, but yeah.
I try not to.
Yeah, I feel like Nardwuar calls people's moms, but I don't know how he gets their numbers. Or
allegedly, he has a guy that contacts
tracks them down.
Yeah,
it's pretty dope. Yes, the Octets was the a cappella group I was in high school, and I was the music director for 2 years. That was kind of a funny situation, actually, because a few things happened. It had been founded by like a music director who was basically like a grandma, like who we all loved, who was like the music professor who'd been in town for 30 years, and she was really chill and everyone loved her, and just, she was like the best person ever. Lynn Raymeyer, incredible person.
Shout out to her.
So she was still running it, and like the kids kind of were given a little bit of leeway to run it themselves. If there was like a lot of musical talent, they could arrange some of the songs themselves, whatever. She would stay out of the way a little bit. So that was when we were like, when I was a freshman, she was still kind of helping run it. Then she retired, and we like did her going away concert, and she asked me personally to arrange "Good Riddance" by Green Day for us to sing, like "Time of Your Life," whatever, for her, which I did. And so then she was gone, and then they replaced her with this other woman who was like more of like a choir nerd and thought we were supposed to be like the choir that would do like the more skilled like kind of like vocal jazz, close harmony arrangement, stuff like that. And we did like Maroon 5 covers. We were not like trying to do that shit or really built for or interested in it. So she tried to put a heavy hand. There was just like a lot of resistance from the group because people were just like, what the fuck is this shit? And people were just like really mean to her, actually. Oh my gosh. It was just not a great situation all around. But what ended up happening was like she started another rival group in the school and like kept ours going, but just started another group called the Chamber Singers that existed only to do that shit.
That's crazy.
And then I was sort of like, I was like the one person in our group who was like basically qualified at that point. I mean, not amazing at it, but I could just run the entire group myself musically. And I was like a junior, I think, so I could conduct it, I could do all the arrangements, and then there was a couple other people who did arrangements. Shout out John Myers and a couple other people, and we would just sort of like run it ourselves. And basically we're just like, hey, please just like book our shows and stay the hell out of the way. But I was like the nice guy who was able to be like good cop, bad cop, well, you know, or whatever, where the group was the bad cop, and I was able to just be like just help.
You're trying to play
like, hey, but I would hang out with her enough and just like make her feel like, you know, and then like,
that's nice guy.
And I worked with her on the other group a little bit and helped her with other projects, stuff like that. So she felt like not totally shut out, which I think was the good move. But I mean, that wasn't always going to work. I think eventually the group had to revert to like being an actual school run group. But yeah, that was the Octets, and we had she said something really crazy one time, which was she was like, let's just say, I don't know, we like canceled a gig or something, and she was just, let's just say the people who booked that they're mad with a P. And we were like, what?
What?
And we eventually figured out that she was trying to say pissed, but she was trying to be polite. But we were just like, what the fuck is this person talking about? And then we named our album Mad with a P.
Okay, that's all right. That's good. Yeah. All right, and then I have one last question to ask you.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
I'm a very nostalgic person. Like, even after I went to college, I like came back and like visited the group to just see how they were doing and watch.
Okay, you know what? Like, two questions. We're talking about nostalgia, and you know, you talked about like your aesthetic and everything. You know, you were inspired by like Mad Max and you know, like Dune and everything. So let's talk about Sick Futuristic.
Oh yeah. This is awesome, dude. You're doing great. I had a dream about that last night, kind of actually.
Really?
Yeah. My dream is to just have like an orchestra playing on like a stage with like swimming pools in it, like the O at the Cirque du Soleil in Vegas, which is acrobats and shit, and just build that in a giant warehouse that's like 6 stories tall and shit like that, you know, and then just people just come and watch the show there. And I just like in my dream I like had actually what happened in my dream was someone else had done it.
And I was watching,
and I was in the theater and I was just like, oh yeah. And I think the message of the dream was like, don't lose sight of that. You know what I mean?
Do you think that's the end goal for you?
100%. That's always been the end goal. So Sick Futuristic was a show I did at Yale that was just like that in the smallest form possible, which was like in like a black box theater you have like at a college or something where it's just everything's painted black. You can do whatever you want with it. You can have a dance show, you can have a concert, whatever. It's like anything you want. Just a big rectangle with seats. And we built a little stage and had some like 2 screens projecting like weird ass video. And this dude David Rudnick, who's now like kind of Twitter famous and like graphic design Twitter and like film criticism and shit like that. He did like the logo, which was this 3-eyed skull. And we were like, what does that have to do with classical music? And he's like, it's a memento mori. And he just kept saying that, which I've heard of that expression, but that was his explanation. So that was fine. And then he came up with the name too, Sick Futuristic, where Sick was short for music.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
But he just liked it. It just sounded completely insane.
Yeah.
And then we had this guy, Amit Bala, who was like a lighting designer in the drama school or art school, maybe. I think that was his name. I hope I'm not confusing him with someone else, but I'm pretty sure he did the lighting design. And then, it was just like we had some dancers choreographed from like Yale Dancers, which is one of the groups, and just kind of put this whole show together as like a variety show of just elements that oh, this one's like a cello player beatboxing while a sax player like pretends to be like busking on a street corner or something like that. And the beatboxing cellist actually is really famous now. He's like in Pentatonics, and he's the beatboxing cellist from Pentatonics.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah,
oh
Kevin Lusula. Yeah, shout out another homie, good friend. So yeah, I mean, I was just trying to like do sort of like a variety show, like a Blue Man Group type of thing, maybe a little less. There were some funny moments, but mostly not funny, more just like trippy, I'd say. Type of show you get really high and go to, and just putting an amplified with beats and just these modern pieces of experimental classical music into like a 1-hour show. And then I kept building that out throughout college. But yeah, that was the first time kind of messing with that. And Ellis Ludwig Leone, one other person I should shout out, who kind of co-created that with me and has a band called San Fermin. And he did a show in Brooklyn like a couple weeks ago where his band did a show with dancers and sets and stuff, which also was pretty reminiscent of the stuff we've been doing in college. So sick.
Okay. And then one last question. I want to play one song from you. I think one of my favorite from you. And I just want a little bit about I guess, your commentary on it and just what it meant to you.
Yeah.
Because I think it is kind of like relevant to now too. If it's going to play. Give me a second.
Do you use Spotify?
No.
Me neither. No idea. Oh yeah. Wait, keep playing it.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of this?
No, I know. This is really familiar to me. Is this from Abyss? Wait, what? No, I know this so well. What? It's the intro to some long ass piece of music. Is it from a musical? Wait, hang on, I can figure this out. Oh, I know this. It's the Songs of Sorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Jesus, that's wild. I haven't listened to that in probably 5 or 10 years.
Because I found that.
Yeah.
And I heard the background story of how you compose and everything. I think it's relevant to today too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a Holocaust memorial piece, but actually, yeah, a lot of weird connections because the guy that commissioned that is this guy, Mark Ludwig, who's a viola player in the Boston Symphony Orchestra, ran an organization, or maybe still does, called the Terezin Chamber Music Foundation, which is like in memory of this specific like concentration camp in Europe that had like a big emphasis. I don't know, it's hard to describe it, but like for whatever reason, I don't know if they like put all the like really artistic like musical Jewish people in that particular camp, or maybe just the ones who were there like really locked in and just did some shit, but they were like basically for whatever reason the prisoners there were like putting on plays and shit, even though they knew they were gonna get killed at the end, but like just plays and symphonies and shit like that. So this was in the memory of that specific camp, and like there was one guy, Edgar Cross, I think was his name, Crossa, who like had escaped as a child, and he was like sort of one of the people who ran this organization. So they commissioned me as a Jewish composer to write like this orchestra piece, or vocal choir and piano piece, and we did it a couple times. But I think it was premiered by the New England Conservatory Youth Choir, which was I had gone there in Boston as a high schooler to study classical music. So that was a cool connection. Mark Ludwig is like once removed the cousin of Ellis Ludwig Leone, who I did the show with at Yale. That was a coincidence.
That's crazy coincidence.
Or I think actually what happened maybe was I'd met Mark first through Boston stuff, and then he was like, "Oh, my cousin goes to Yale. You should meet him." So I'm sure we would have met anyway. But yeah, that was very random. And yeah, I mean so I took texts for it. I can't remember. I think one of them was from I think it was about like the Rwanda genocide maybe, and then which kind of like just give a different perspective on that. One of the texts was from, I think it was probably from something that Mark had found from the Survivors of Terrorzine itself, and then a third one was from Donna Rubinstein, who was like my great aunt or something, who had also escaped the Holocaust and just wrote a book about it later, and I took a quote from that. So it's sort of like this 3 different quotes, because then when you write for choir, most of the time the composer doesn't just like write the words. These days I often do with shit like that, but usually you like find a text that's really good already and then either somehow license it or work with a friend or something to put it together, and then you write the music. But in this case I kind of pulled it from those 3 sources. But I don't know, I'm trying to think, what is that? Did that cover what you were after? Is there something you were expecting me to say?
Well, my question for you is, because I really like that piece that you did.
Yeah.
And I think it is like, it's really interesting, because even though you made that like a decade plus ago, it's still, in my opinion, it's like timeless.
Yeah.
And and for your music in general, what do you try to do with your music? Do you try to make timeless pieces, try to do emotion, or is it more just just for yourself? Like, what's the goal for when you make music?
I thought about that before. I mean, yeah, it's a really good question, because I don't. I mean, I think like in a way, when you're making music that's like in a more popular kind of idiom, if you're using like trap drums, that's something that has been around for like 10 or 15 years. I guess more than that probably, but like really in pop, all music everywhere for like at least 10 years. It'll probably be around for a few more years at some point. I mean, it's like that seems to have like had more longevity than some trends. I mean, there's certain years, if you use autotune, it like the T-Pain kind of version of autotune now really locks that music into one era, but then the music gets reused. Another thing that happens is like generations later, people borrow from a sound that when they bring it back, and then I feel like when that happens is kind of when that shit becomes timeless, because it's like you can't tell sometimes like certain like 70s early punk music or whatever, I don't know history, whatever, you like hear like certain music and you're like, oh, it kind of sounds like they're trying to sound like the Beatles, but it's actually like 15 or 20 years later. Or like in the 90s, you have acts that kind of sound like the 70s.
Yeah.
And I think having that happen makes the 70s stuff more timeless in retrospect, and you can't predict that that's going to happen. But then it's like, there's been enough eras of music that kind of sound like that it starts to just like it all washes together. Like people don't know that like, like Amy Winehouse is she's trying to imitate a retro sound that's like 20, 30 years before her. Now that music is also old. And you're like, most people don't separate the two. It's just like, it's all old music, it all sounds. And I think that's kind of how stuff becomes timeless. I feel like it's hard to do that when you're making music right now. I mean, I think the easiest way that some people do it is they just make music now that sounds like old music. Like they just straight up rip music from like the 80s or 90s, something like that. Like, I don't mean this even negatively, but just like Silk Sonic or something that's very clearly like honoring an older sound. It's like maybe not super like edgy or like weird or out there, except maybe the lyrics I guess are kind of where he pushes it a bit, where they push it a bit, but that music will probably have a better chance of surviving a lot of other shit, because in 20 years people just be like, oh, it's just a classic song, it's like they're not going to remember that in fact this is like 40 years or 50 years after the thing that it's trying to, all of it will just be old and just get grouped together, what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, I think the classical stuff is interesting because I mean, we do, like, in the world of classical music, try to push it forward in a way that you're making stuff that has never been heard before when you're doing it. At least that's how I thought of it when I was trying to do it, and it's still something I try to do. But it could just be that the use of those instruments kind of locks it in with, like, you hear choir and piano, it's like that's going to sound timeless because people have been using both of those sounds for hundreds of years, and, like, or even just for the past 100 years, whatever. It's like, it prevents it from, like, I'm not like relying heavily on some new sound that might go out of date in 5 years and never be heard again, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I tried to make it sound different. I mean, I think that was a limitation presented to me, though, in a way. It was just like it has to be for choir and piano. So it's like by them saying that, it's like there's almost nothing I could have done that would have, I don't know, sounded too dated,
Yeah.
too long. But I appreciate that, and I mean, it's good if I think obviously I'd rather my music last forever than not. So.
But what about like the music you make now? Like for example, like Finally,
Yeah.
do you do that with the goal of trying to make it, music that people will remember, or just more like it's like an outlet for yourself and like you just want to put it out?
I don't think about that at all. It's I don't know how. I mean, it's just you can't really predict where it's
Mm-hmm.
going to go. But I definitely don't try to make music that sounds like older music. Though.
Yeah.
And I do think some people when they say timeless, like that's what they mean, and I do think that that's fine, and people do it, and it works. I think for making the music feel like it lasts, but I'd rather do some shit that feels like I've never heard it before and take the risk, I guess, that it might not age well. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But at least you say you did it.
Yeah, exactly. And like the influence and stuff. I mean, it's interesting. I like to take bets with people. They're not really like they're not bets that anyone will ever get a return on because we probably won't know the answer till we're all dead. Yeah. But like it's like in 2080, like what songs that are popular right now are people still gonna even know?
We don't know.
But there's probably some, Like my bet is it's like Coldplay. That would be my guess. I feel like that's from this era, something like because you can sing it to a baby. It's like the Beatles now,
Yeah.
I would like to think. I mean, I feel like Kanye probably is the most influential artist since since 2000, maybe like of this century. The Beatles were maybe the most influential artists of the last century, I think, maybe, and that music has lasted very easily. It's harder for me to picture like. I mean, again, like the Beatles music, you can play that for like a baby. Mm-hmm. It's harder for me to picture in like 50 years, people are going to be like playing Kanye records for like their baby. But maybe they will. I mean, it's just, it
they
doesn't.
Probably have like, like Kanye, like lullabies or something.
Maybe. I mean, it just feels like it's like so much more reliant on like his voice doing it. For example, you can't really cover a Kanye song, whereas you can cover a Beatles song. I think that helps spread the, the love a little bit, but, and just allow it to last forever. But I genuinely don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that people will remember who Kanye was in 50 or 100 years. The way we think about like Bowie or someone like that who's really influential. But in terms of just like the songs that people will actually play on a regular basis from this era in 50 years or whatever, like I think it's gonna be the safer shit. I don't know. Like I think Silk Sonic has a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
Adele, Coldplay, stuff that's just like it's a song. That's my guess, but that's not. It's not. I'm not. I guess every once in a while I do something like when I made like on my second album this song called I guess we'll find out, like whatever. That's like the name of the album. That song in a way was me trying to be like, it's just a fucking song on a piano. Anyone could play this song and cover it. I wanted to try that. But I think that's the only time I've ever done it. There's one called Parasite on the new album that's a little bit like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. Well, thank you for taking time for the duty interview. It's been a lot of fun, very insightful.
Oh yeah.
And
great questions.
Thank you. Appreciate that. But before we turn off the camera, though, we just like to say, is there any message you have for the fans or anything else you'd like to plug? The rest of the time is all you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm finishing an album right now. It's going to be called Full Speed Nowhere, which is, sums up my mentality right now a little bit. But, just go for it even if you don't know where you're going, I guess. I'd say that in life in general, just better to try something than to give into paralysis or doubt, although, just start doing it and learn from doing rather than just be, like whatever that thing is that you dream of. I think it's important to just try it and fail repeatedly and then learn from that than to never try.